The deep ocean is the closest thing we have to another world, a place where sunlight dies, pressure crushes steel, and life evolves into shapes we can barely comprehend. We like to think we understand our planet, but the truth is, the largest part of Earth remains almost completely unseen. Every year, new discoveries rise from the darkness. Strange sounds, impossible creatures, shadows that appear and vanish without explanation. Today, we're not just exploring the deep sea. We're confronting its greatest mysteries, the ones science still struggles to explain, the ones that make even experts uncomfortable. So take a deep breath and hold on to it, because once we go down, there's no turning back. This is the story of the scariest deep-sea mysteries ever recorded. Explained. Have you ever wondered what's really hiding in the deep ocean? Not the part you see in vacation photos. I mean the places where sunlight has never touched. The places where pressure can crush steel. The places where life doesn't just survive, it mutates into something alien. Today, we're diving into the scariest deep-sea mysteries ever recorded. And more importantly, we're going to explain them clearly and simply, so you can actually understand what's going on down there without needing a degree in marine biology. But fair warning, the deeper we go, the stranger it gets. Let's begin. Most people don't realize this, but more than 80% of the ocean has never been mapped, explored, or even seen by human eyes. Imagine closing your eyes, pointing at a random spot on the globe, and knowing there's an 80% chance no one has any idea what's under the surface. That's the ocean. Why is it so unknown? Because the deep sea is basically designed to keep us out. The pressure increases by 1 ton per square meter for every 10 meters you descend. Temperatures sink close to freezing, and once you pass a few hundred meters, light disappears completely. Humans developed rockets and spacecraft long before we figured out how to build a vehicle that could safely reach the deepest parts of the ocean. In other words, the deep sea isn't mysterious because it's empty. It's mysterious because it's almost impossible to visit. And yet, despite all the limitations, we've still managed to record some of the strangest, most unexplainable ocean mysteries in history. Let's start with one that shocked scientists around the world. In 1997, a set of underwater microphones owned by NOAA picked up something unusual. It was a deep, rumbling sound so loud that it was detected from over 5,000 kilometers away. The signal didn't match anything familiar. Not an earthquake, not a submarine, not a volcanic eruption. Someone reviewing the data jokingly named it the Bloop. But the name didn't stay funny for long. When scientists analyzed the sound waves, they discovered something unsettling. The acoustic signature resembled the noise made by a living creature. Except there was a problem. No known animal on Earth was big enough to create a sound that powerful. For a moment, scientists seriously considered the possibility that something larger than a blue whale, the largest animal ever known, was lurking in the deep ocean. People began speculating about sea monsters, giant serpents, unknown leviathans. Even Hollywood noticed. The sound inspired parts of the movie Cloverfield. But then, a few years later, NOAA offered a more grounded explanation. They suggested the bloop might have been the sound of ice cracking in Antarctica, a massive chunk of frozen continent breaking apart. Does that solve the mystery, maybe? Maybe not. The explanation makes sense, but some marine biologists argue the sound is too organic, too irregular, and too similar to biological frequencies to dismiss completely. And the ocean is big enough and unexplored enough that no one can say with absolute certainty what caused the bloop. For all we know, it could still be something alive. But if the bloop hints at a colossal creature, our next mystery shows something almost ghost-like. In 2014, a robotic camera descending into the Mariana Trench picked up something surreal. Floating gently through the water was a transparent, pale creature that looked almost like a spirit. It had no scales, no defined shape. It moved without any visible effort, drifting as if gravity didn't exist. This was the Mariana ghostfish, a snailfish living at more than 8,000 meters deep. To put that into perspective, that depth has enough pressure to crush a modern submarine like a soda can. And yet this soft, jelly-like creature survives there effortlessly. Its bones are so flexible they're barely bones at all. Its body is closer to gelatin than muscle, and that's precisely why it thrives. A rigid skeleton would snap instantly under such pressure, but a loose, flexible one bends and squeezes instead of breaking. But here's the unsettling part. This fish wasn't alone. Scientists believe dozens, maybe hundreds of species like this exist, each stranger than the last, each adapted to pressures that should kill anything familiar. The ocean's deepest zones may be full of ghost-like creatures we haven't seen, yet silently floating through eternal darkness. And that leads us to an even stranger mystery places, where the ocean behaves like something out of science fiction. Most people think black holes exist only in outer space, but the ocean has its own version underwater black holes, known as eddies. These are massive, swirling vortices, some larger than cities, that trap anything unfortunate enough to drift into them. Once inside, escape becomes nearly impossible. Water circulates in a perfect loop, spinning debris, fish plankton, and sometimes entire ecosystems around in silence for years. Yes, years. Scientists once tracked a single ocean eddy that kept the same trapped water for more than a decade. You won't get sucked to the center like in movies, but you will get stuck. Permanently. What's so terrifying is not just the vortex itself, but the thought of what might be living inside one creature's trapped for centuries, evolving separately, isolated from the rest of the world. Imagine entering a region of the sea where fish look nothing like any species we know, simply because they've been spinning in the same underwater loop for generations. It's not impossible. It might already exist. But the ocean doesn't just trap creatures. It creates them, and some of them use the darkness as a weapon. One of the strangest things about the deep ocean is that many creatures there produce their own light. At first glance, bioluminescence seems magical, almost beautiful. Soft blue glows drifting through darkness, sparkling trails like underwater fireflies. But here's the unsettling truth. Most deep-sea lights are not meant to be beautiful. They're meant to hunt. Take the anglerfish. Its glowing lure dangles in front of its mouth, mimicking a small, harmless light in the darkness. Curious fish approach thinking they've found a tiny meal. But they don't realize the light is attached to a predator with razor-sharp teeth and a jaw capable of swallowing prey almost as large as itself. The last thing many creatures see is that faint, ghostly glow. Some deep-sea predators don't just lure prey, they camouflage themselves with light. They match the faint glow from above so perfectly that anything swimming below can't see them at all. It's the biological equivalent of an invisibility cloak. And then there are species that flash bright patterns to disorient predators, or suddenly explode in bursts of blue fire to confuse anything chasing them. In the deep sea, light isn't decoration. It's survival. It's manipulation. And sometimes it's a trap. But if glowing hunters sound bizarre, they're nothing compared to the true giants living in the deep. For centuries, sailors returned from long voyages with stories of massive tentacles wrapping around ships, pulling entire vessels into the deep. Most people wrote those tales off as superstition until recently, when cameras finally captured the truth. Giant squid are real, and they're bigger than almost anyone imagined. Some individuals reach lengths of 13 meters. Their eyes are the size of dinner plates. Their arms are lined with rotating hooks designed to latch onto anything that struggles. Even more terrifying is their cousin, the colossal squid. This species is shorter, but much thicker and more powerful, with tentacles built for constriction and ambush. Scientists have found colossal squid beaks inside the stomachs of sperm whales. And these beaks are enormous, meaning the squid they belonged to must have been even bigger. Here's the part no one likes to think about. We have never observed a fully grown adult giant or colossal squid alive in its natural habitat. Every specimen we've studied was either dead dying or caught near the surface. If the ones we find are juveniles, then the true adults, wherever they are, must be far larger and far more powerful than anything we've documented. The deep sea could be hiding creatures longer than buses, heavier than cars, and built entirely of muscle. That brings us to our final and perhaps most unsettling mystery, the abyss. Below 4,000 meters, there is a region scientists call the abyssal zone. It's not named for drama. It's named because it is in every meaningful way a bottomless void. There is no sunlight, no landmarks, no sense of direction. Temperatures hover just above freezing, and visibility is almost zero even with artificial lights. Whenever a camera descends into the abyss, footage becomes grainy, distorted, and faint. Most of the time you can only see a few meters ahead. And yet researchers occasionally record large shapes drifting by the lens, shapes too big too fast or too amorphous to identify. Sometimes it looks like a massive shadow gliding just outside the light's reach. Sometimes it's a cluster of moving dots that behave like a single entity. Other times the footage captures nothing more than a flicker, a movement too quick to analyze. Scientists try to stay calm. They say it could be debris, or a school of fish, or an artifact of the camera. But the truth is simpler. When visibility is almost zero, every shadow becomes a mystery. And the abyss has plenty of shadows. No one knows how many species live down there. Some researchers estimate thousands. Others say tens of thousands. But the real answer might be even greater, because life in the abyss doesn't follow the same evolutionary rules as shallow water species. With no light and extreme pressure, creatures evolve into strange, otherworldly forms. Some transparent, some enormous, some glowing, some invisible. Every expedition returns with new footage, new anomalies, new questions. And every time the same unsettling thought returns. What if the ocean's deepest layers contain ecosystems we haven't even imagined yet? So after exploring these mysteries, what should we make of the deep sea? Is it a terrifying place filled with unknown monsters and dangerous phenomena? Or is it simply a world we haven't understood yet? Maybe both. The ocean isn't scary because it's dangerous. It's scary because it's unknown. Humans fear the dark, not because darkness hurts us, but because darkness hides things. And the deep sea is the largest, darkest, least explored place on Earth. But every mystery we unravel teaches us something new about evolution, about physics, about life itself. The bloop might turn out to be ice. The ghost fish might become a common species. The vortexes might be understood perfectly one day. But until then, the deep sea remains one of the last true frontiers. The more we discover, the more we realize how little we know. And maybe that's the real reason these mysteries feel so frightening. They remind us that Earth is still bigger, stranger, and more unpredictable than we ever imagined. But one thing is certain, the ocean is waiting. And every time we dare to descend a little deeper, it whispers the same message. There is more. Much more. And we've only just begun to look. The deeper we look into the ocean, the clearer it becomes. That fear isn't the real barrier, knowledge is. Every strange sound, every flicker in the dark, every ghost-like creature drifting through the abyss reminds us that our planet is still full of secrets. And maybe that's exactly why the deep sea fascinates us so much. It's the one frontier where imagination and reality overlap, where myths feel possible, and where the truth is often stranger than the stories we tell. If you enjoyed this journey into the unknown, there's an entire ocean of mysteries left to explore. And trust me, the deeper we go, the weirder it gets. Thank you for watching, and until next time, stay curious, stay brave, and keep your eyes on the places we haven't illuminated yet. Because somewhere down there in the cold and silent dark, the next mystery is already waiting.